experience already and have been through this phase of life. Some people are going through it now. Some young people will go through it in the future, many, many years from now. But it's part of the circle of life. I can tell you that between, just my own personal experiences and what I do for a living, that it just gives you such an appreciation and perspective. And I want you to all, after tonight's presentation, live life to the fullest, okay? Go out, take the trip, have a great time, spend your money, while you still can, while you're able-bodied and healthy and can enjoy it. Because I've seen the future and it ain't pretty, all right? And we're gonna talk about it a little bit. For those lucky enough to age, it comes along with its challenges. So thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you so much for our host, Tobias Financial, and Petra for inviting me and bringing us all together here tonight. So our motto at Melora Law is get your ducks in a row, protect your family, and save your dough. Okay, that's what we do. There's goodie bags for everybody here at the table in the back. Take one. It's all about the ducks. Little duck pen, duck keychain, etc. So take one before you leave, please, and enjoy. A little bit about me. Petra already mentioned. I've lived and worked in Plantation for 28 years. I've got 3 children, all born and raised here, all at Plantation General, which is not even a thing anymore. So they all went to St. Gregory's to school. My youngest is now at St. Thomas. They all went through St. Thomas. My office is in Plantation, if you're familiar with the area, by, we call it Old Plantation, by City Hall and the post office. There's one post office in Plantation. The line is always out the door. That's my office is near there. I got my undergraduate degree in political science, my law degree from UM 25 years ago. Oh, that's my family. So this is our oldest, Sophie. My husband Anthony, we just celebrated our 31st anniversary. Middle daughter Jill and the baby Brody. Is there more about me? Lots of honors and awards. Let's just fast forward because it's not about me, it's about you. It's about you and how to get your ducks in a row when it comes to long-term care. Okay, so everyone's familiar with Medicare, okay? That's health insurance that everyone over age 65 can get, now anyways. And it covers your doctor's visits, lab work, prescriptions, hospital stays, and short-term rehab. If you have a surgery and you need some short-term rehab, Medicare will cover it up either while you're showing improvement or up to a certain maximum number of days. And first 20 days, 100% covered. Up to 100 days, 80% covered. If you have supplemental health insurance, it will kick in and cover that 20%, or you pay the 20% privately. But after day 100, your coverage ends. There's no percent. Medicare does not cover it because now it's considered long-term care. It's not considered short-term care anymore. So a government benefit that picks up where Medicare leaves off is called the Medicaid Long-Term Care Program. First, let's talk a little bit about what's long-term care, right? When you start to need help with things, we'll get to a little description, activities of daily living. There's 3 different continuum of care. You could be living in your own home and need a home health aide, part-time home health aide to come in a few days a week and help you with things. You could need some more support and live in an assisted living community, which you have your own apartment, but it's fully staffed. They provide dining room with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and there's aides 24/7 if there's an emergency. They can give you medications, things like that, a little more support. And then skilled nursing is, most people know as a nursing home, right? That's more like living in a hospital. There are doctors, there are nurses, you're getting medical care 24/7. So that's the 3 different types of long-term care. This is hard to see, I know, but how much does long-term care cost? Genworth does a survey every couple of years or so based on geography. The most recent one was 2023. The average cost of a home health aide is $5,720 per month.
Oh, wow.
Cha-ching. Assisted living average cost about the same, $5,250 per month. Nursing home ranges from $10,000 to $14,000 a month. You're living in a hospital, right? It's more than the Ritz. It costs more than the Ritz. So it's very, very expensive. And there's 3 ways to pay for it. You can either you were smart enough and bought long-term care insurance when you were young and healthy, because that's when you have to buy it. Or you write a check every month until you're out of money, private pay. Or you can get some government assistance for a portion of the cost, which is the Medicaid long-term care benefit.
Could be a combination of all 3?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there a financial cutoff for Medicaid long-term?
Yes, we'll talk about that. Yeah. All right, so the Medicaid benefit picks up where Medicare leaves off, pays for a portion of your long-term care. Your average savings through this program, either at home or in assisted living, is about $25,000 a year. And your average savings in a nursing home is upwards of $100,000 a year. In a nursing home, most people in nursing homes are on the Medicaid long-term care program. Most people can't sustain $10,000, $50,000 a month for very long. There's 2 types of Medicaid. One is for people in nursing homes. That's one Medicaid program. It's got its own application process. The financial eligibility criteria is the same for both programs, but there's a few little differences. So we have the nursing home program, which is called ICP for institutional care, and then you have the program that covers home care and assisted living, and that's called Home and Community-Based Services. Okay, so for ICP Medicaid in a nursing home, the way it works is they calculate an amount that you can afford based on your monthly income. Okay, they'll look at your Social Security, an IRA, pension, whatever it is. Let's say you make $2,000 a month. That's what you owe to the nursing home. That's your patient responsibility amount. It's like a copay, and Medicaid pays the rest. So instead of paying $14,000 a month, now you're paying $2,000 a month. That's where you get a huge savings. So that's how the ICP Medicaid program works. And then the HCBS Medicaid program pays a portion of the cost. It's calculated a little bit differently. It doesn't matter what your income is. They only pay so much, right? If you're at home and you need a home health aide, they'll assess you and they'll say, we think you need 20 hours of care per week. So we'll pay for that. They'll pay an agency to send a home health aide to your home for 20 hours a week. I know you can all guess what the problems are with that program. They never approve enough hours, right? They'll say you need 20 hours a week when really you need 40. So it helps, but it won't cover everything that you need.
Is there a maximum that they?
Not really. You can advocate for as many as you think you need. Whether you'll get it or not is a different story, but there's really no maximum. It's very hard to get like 24/7 coverage. That's only in extreme cases after appeals and hearings and things like that. Usually it's 16, 15, 20, up to 40 hours a week is pretty straightforward, but more than that, they really make you jump through lots of hoops. And then in an assisted living, the way it works is they pay a stipend per month directly to the assisted living, which will reduce the senior's bill, right? So just to make, right now the average that they pay is $1,900 a month. So to make the math easy, if the assisted living costs $4,900 a month and Medicaid pays $1,900 a month, you owe $3,000, okay? So that's how that works. That's why home care and assisted living is about $25,000 a year savings. That's where we get that figure from. There's an eligibility test, okay? You have to be 65 or older. You can still get this if you're under 65, but only if you've been deemed disabled, right? So you can't work, you're getting SSI or SSDI for income. There is a way that you can get Medicaid before you turn 65. And you have to need help with your activities of daily living. So there's a physical component to it. And then there's a financial component as well. It's really based on financial need. And that's where elder law attorneys come into play, because we know the Medicaid rules very well, and we help people qualify financially if they're maybe make too much income or have too many assets. We explain how to restructure those things in a Medicaid compliant way. So level of care requirements. Physically, you have to need help with one or more of these called activities of daily living. These are 6 things that every one of us do every day. We eat, we go to the bathroom, we take a shower, maybe not every day. We walk, Transferring is getting up and down from a chair or in and out of a bed. So when you need help with those types of things, you qualify physically for this program. And financially, the eligibility requirements, they look at income and they look at assets. Income cap right now is $2,901 per month. That goes up a little bit every year. There's a COLA. The asset test has never gone up since I've been practicing law. It's $2,000 bucks. If you have more than $2,000 bucks in countable assets in your name, then we have to restructure the amount over $2,000 to help you qualify. Some assets count and some assets don't count. And we'll go into that a little bit too. Okay, your primary residence. Your homestead does not count as an asset. A lot of people come to me after they've sold their home. They sell their home because they think they need cash to pay for their long-term care. It's a bad idea. I say, I wish you came to me before you sold your house, because it's much better to keep it. Because if you sell it, a homestead's exempt. If you sell it, now you have a pot of money, and money counts. Okay, so I always recommend to try to keep the home if you can. Sometimes you can't afford it because there's upkeep. You can rent it. There's a way to do that in a Medicaid compliant way. Yes.
It happened to one of my clients. Their mother had Alzheimer's, where they needed to put in assisted living. It happened last year, and the children contacted me, and we sold the house and moved them on to a long-term care while we were selling the house. The minute the house was sold and Medicaid saw that they had funds, they took away that, I don't know how much was a month, because they said it's around $10,000 a month. They took it away and put it on hold, so they had to actually use that pot because they sold the house thinking they will need eventually. But at that point, with 3 children, they had divided the assets into the 3, and there was no money left. And then comes next year, and they said, "Wait a minute, we sold the house last year. Where is the money?" And now the children have to kind of take back the money that they thought it was their inheritance.
Yeah.
And so I saw that happen.
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
And so, if there's one thing I can impart to you tonight, there's resources available to families. If you know someone that is facing these issues, have them talk to a professional, because there's so many better solutions than what happened in that case. But you have to know about them. You have to know about them, and you have to put them in place before, in advance. You can still sell the house, and there's ways to shelter the proceeds if it's done the right way. Oh, I'm sorry. Shoot. I don't have a car. Let me see if I can remember. One car does not count as an asset. Okay, you're allowed to have a car. IRAs, retirement funds, don't count as an asset so long as you take a minimum monthly draw on it. You take your distribution from it every month. That counts toward your income, but the IRA principal balance doesn't count as an asset. That's so save for your retirement. Put it in an IRA. Funeral? Okay, prepaid funeral. Thank you. You can buy a prepaid funeral plan. It's a great way to spend. It's called spending down. You have a big pot of money. You're going to need a funeral someday. It's kind of a morbid thought, but we're all going to need a funeral someday. You can buy a funeral plan, use the money, because it's not counted as an asset when you have that plan in place. So it's a good use of funds. So certain things don't count. We take a look. We have our families list out their income and their assets. We go through that list with them. We figure out what counts and what doesn't, and we come up with a plan. Okay, and then we have some sheltering strategies. So if someone is over income or over asset, they have more than $2,000, we go through some of these tools with them and decide which ones work best for their family. There's pros and cons to each one. And so just see what's a good fit. If you have a spouse, if you have 2 spouses and one spouse needs care but the other doesn't, that's music to my ears, because your community spouse that doesn't need care, you can transfer all the money to them, right? They can have a maximum amount of $157,000 in countable assets in their separate name, and that's perfectly fine. And even if they have over $157,000, we can institute a program called spousal refusal, where they can sign documentation in writing saying they're not going to use their money to support their spouse, to help them get Medicaid. Okay? Personal services. Some people come to me and they say, we're going to get a divorce because I don't want to use all my money on my sick spouse because I have to live. I'm young and I'm healthy and I might live another 20 years. How am I going to live? And we say, you don't have to get a divorce. There's a solution. Okay?
And then they're disappointed.
You can get a divorce, but you don't have to. Personal services contract allows you to hire a loved one and pay them for everything they do for you, right? Their son or daughter might be taking them, driving them around to doctor's appointments, making doctor's appointments, doing their shopping for them, paying their bills for them. All these things are time consuming. You're allowed to compensate your loved one for those things, and you can pay them using a personal services contract. There's a special needs trust that we can use. You could buy real estate. You can jointly own real estate with another person. You can buy income producing property, a condo that gets rented out. The income counts, but now you've got an asset that's hopefully increasing in value over time that a family can inherit after you pass away. So there's lots of creative solutions we can use. For income, if you're over income, we have to use something called a qualified income trust, which is like a pass-through bank account. A portion, your income overage has to be deposited into a bank account in the name of a qualified income trust every month. Has anyone ever heard of a ladybird deed? We were just talking about that. Not every state has these. Florida does. It actually was created in Florida. It's an awesome tool. I love it. I talk about it all the time. It allows you basically to name a beneficiary on your deed. Okay, so typically, a single person should never own a home in their own name. Okay, it's a bad idea. If that person passes away, the deed governs what happens. If the deed has one name on it and that person has died, now there's no owner. You have to go to court, go through a process called probate to clear title and transfer it to someone else. A ladybird deed allows you to name a beneficiary right on your deed. You still own it. You still get all the tax benefits from owning it. It's still your homestead. I, Bobby, own this home for as long as I live. When I die, it's going to go to my 3 children in equal shares or to my trust. And there's no probate needed. You protect your home. It's very important in the Medicaid context because if there's a probate, Medicaid's a creditor. Medicaid comes looking to get paid back. If there's no probate, there's nothing that they can lien. There's no claim they can make. So we want to avoid probate. So we kind of take a holistic view and we say, okay, we're going to qualify you for Medicaid now. We also want to make sure that there's no probate after life and make sure that there's no creditor liens to deal with.
Sorry, one question though.
Yep.
The ladybird deed, how is it different from a trust or better than a trust?
You can use both.
Purpose,
A ladybird deed allows you to still own the home in your own individual name and then say what's going to happen after I die. And after I die, it can say it's going to go to my trust, so you can still use a trust with a ladybird deed. Or it's going to go to an individual person.
Like it's just one person with her apartment, that's all she's got.
Mhm.
So this is an easier kind of.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Correct. It's allowed by Medicaid. So some people, when they come to me too late, oh yeah, I took care of that. I deeded my house to my kids. I quit claim deeded it to my kid. No, that doesn't work for Medicaid. It's considered a gift. Your kid didn't pay you. You've gifted them a piece of real estate. Your name's now off it. Now they own it. Now that's a problem. So we don't want to do that. But a ladybird deed's allowed because you still own it. You're not changing anything till after you die. It allows your real estate to pass to heirs free of creditor claims. No Medicaid lien or recovery. Avoids probate. Saves your heirs money, time, and stress. Great tool we have in Florida. Not every state has it. And
Can you use it
often.
if you're not single? Like,
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's actually a good idea, even for a married couple. So oftentimes a married couple own a home as husband and wife. That's tenants by the entireties. If one spouse passes away, the other spouse still owns it. No probate, no problem. When the second spouse passes away, there's a problem, right? Because now you have a single owner if one spouse has died. And nobody thinks to update the deed at that point in time. So if a married couple can say, we own this home as husband and wife. After we die, it goes to our trust or our kids, or you can still use ladybird deed as husband and wife. Yeah. Single most important document we use to qualify our clients for Medicaid. It's a durable power of attorney. If you don't have one, everyone over 18 should have one. Very, very important. It gives someone written permission to make decisions for you if you can't make them for yourself. Make phone calls for you, sign paperwork for you, pay your bills, access your bank accounts. Without that paper, nobody will talk to anybody. Even Comcast, right? You've called Comcast before? Who's this? Oh, you're not the name on the account. Put so-and-so on the phone. You know, that resolves all those problems. If you don't have a durable power of attorney, and now your loved one is sick, your loved one can't sign one anymore. They've got dementia. They've had a stroke. They don't have capacity to sign a legal document. What happens then, Norma?
It's a hot mess.
Norma's been through it. It's you're going to court. We try to keep our families out of court. You're going to court, and you have to be named their legal guardian, because nobody will talk to you. The bank won't let you pay bills. The person's still alive and needs your help, and you can't do anything for them. Your hands are tied. You have to be named their legal guardian, and a guardianship is a nightmare.
So without a trust, you're able to have a dual power of attorney
Yes.
with your spouse?
Two totally different things. A trust says what happens to your stuff after you die. A durable power of attorney says what happens while I'm still alive if I have an emergency and I need somebody to make decisions for me. Totally different. You should have both. Yes.
Just one quick thing I ran into with durable power of attorney. My dad passed in January. We've been through all of this and then some. But the durable power of attorney, yes, everybody should have it. I discovered that there are certain things that I still could not do without him, right? So like the selling of a home, he still needed to come to the table and sign unless we went through some other additional hoops, which we didn't have to because we were on the same page with what we were doing. But it seemed like that didn't extend far enough when we wanted to try and, sell the home.
So not all durable powers of attorney are created equally. You can go on LegalZoom and download a one-page power of attorney for $25. It's not going to let you do anything. It's not going to let you sell the home. It's not going to let you sell a car. It's not going to let you do a lot of things. A durable power of attorney that's comprehensive and done by an attorney who knows your needs, you would have been able to sell the house. You would have been able to do it.
Attorney,
Yeah.
apparently not
Oh,
a very good one.
and that's how I know. Sorry. Okay, sorry. But the durable power of attorney either includes the authority or doesn't, right? And it has to include the authority for them to follow it.
Yes.
Yeah, it ends at the end of life. It's only good while the person is alive. Correct.
Can you guys
We
have
went
a
through
price
about
Which one?
incapacity?
I don't know if I can. I can't with this, because I already tried. Let's see. Maybe. Uh-huh, I can.
Yeah.
This one?
Maybe you can share the slides with everyone.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Get it?
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that it was interactive. If anyone has any questions, comments, want to share any personal experiences, happy to take them. Yes.
If you can explain how's your process to meet with you,
Mhm.
who do you like come in with the parents? I have elderly parents, I'm very interested to.
Yeah, so we will typically, it depends, if you have durable power of attorney already, and it's a good one, then you can do everything for your parents. If you don't, if that's part of what we're going to be doing for you, we have you come in with the whoever the senior is that needs the care, and we kind of explain the different solutions we use, the Medicaid rules, how it will help them, what documents we recommend. We get an inventory of the income and the assets and see what we can do to qualify them for Medicaid. Everything we do is flat fee, so you'll know exactly what the cost is. It's not hourly or anything like that.
So, I went through the process, and not necessarily the Medicaid thing, but, people who have parents who may have had Alzheimer's or whatever, you might start to worry that you might get it as well. And so, what advice do you have for, us who might worry about that in terms of planning ahead, how quickly do we do that, what do we need to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, we talk about this kind of planning as an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? It's much easier to plan ahead while you're healthy and you have plenty of time to make decisions than it is to clean up a mess later. You know, if you have to go to court and get named as a guardian, your loved one has to go through a background check, they get fingerprinted, they have to report to the court every dime they spend, you know, so it's definitely not anything you want to put your family through. The same with probate. We do planning for our loved ones, not necessarily for ourselves. What do we care? We're either in a hospital bed or, you know, not walking the earth anymore. It's our loved ones that have to deal with everything, so we try to make it as easy as possible for them. Get a good durable power of attorney in place. If you can afford long-term care insurance, it would be very helpful to cover the cost of your care. This is out of my realm of expertise, but it's my understanding there's all kinds of new policies out, like hybrid policies, and financial advisors can help you with that, but they can usually structure something you can afford, right? Okay, you might be buying less insurance, but at least it's something. So long-term care insurance is a great help,
But you can use that in addition to Medicaid?
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
But that will be used first. So the Medicaid
No,
takes
so
care
it
of
depends what kind of insurance you have, but usually these policies are reimbursement, right? So they'll say, submit your bills to us, and we'll reimburse you for whatever it cost you per day, or if that's the case, it's not income, it doesn't affect Medicaid at all.
Really?
It's reimbursement.
Would you have expenses then? To get reimbursed for?
Yes, right, so let's say you have assisted living, might be one of the things that's covered on your policy, and they'll pay a portion of it. And so will Medicaid, you'll still get your $1,900 a month for Medicaid.
Nice.
So you can use both. There's also a benefit called VA aid and attendance for veterans that were during a wartime period or their surviving spouse. That also adds to the pie. You can have all three. You have long-term care insurance, VA aid and attendance, Medicaid, and cobble a bunch of stuff together and try to get your costs covered. But
You did something about charitable trust and when to involve.
Special needs trust.
Special needs.
Mhm.
Can I ask you a question? I know with Medicaid, there's a look-back rule, like if you transfer assets, or does it apply to a trust?
So there's a 5-year look-back period under the Florida Medicaid rules that applies to gifts.
Just to
Okay?
guess.
Gifts. It depends on the type of trust. It doesn't apply to a special needs trust, but basically says you can't give your money away and then in order to qualify for Medicaid, right? We won't allow you to do that. We penalize you for that. So you want to use some of the solutions that are recognized and allowed by the Medicaid rules instead of gifting. Sometimes, if somebody's got a diagnosis of dementia and they're still young and healthy, it's a gamble. You know, we have to look at our crystal ball, as we were talking about. Do you have 5 years before you're going to need long-term care? If you do, we could gift away your money now and just not apply for 5 years, right? That's an option too. But most people, by the time they come to me, they don't have 5 years to wait.
That was, I was gonna ask you that.
Yeah.
Could you shelter it in an IRA?
Yes.
And your house too, right? You could make improvements to your house.
Yeah, you could do home improvements.
Now, from what I recall, because we went to you once it hit the fan, we did a special needs trust for my mother-in-law.
Yes.
Now, I think I recall asking at the time, I'm trying to remember exactly what the response was, but with the special needs trust, she had very limited funds, X number of funds, no way it was gonna last her or her life in ALF. Lived with us for 4 years, you helped us with Medicaid, we got her into ALF. Now, the funds that are in that special needs, does Medicare have a right to reimbursement from that special needs trust?
Yeah, so there's pros and cons to every strategy, right? And we go through those with you. Like the personal services contract, the way that works is you enter into a written contract. The senior enters into a written contract with their child to compensate them for everything they're doing. The amount that they're allowed to pay is based on their life expectancy under the Medicaid rules. We know they give us a formula we have to use. We know how much we can pay. Let's say it's $100,000. Your mom has $100,000 in the bank. She wants to qualify for Medicaid. She can enter into a personal services contract with you, pay you the $100,000. Now it's out of her name and into your name. The awesome solution, you keep the money, Medicaid never gets it, stays within the family. The downside is that it's compensation. So you might have to pay taxes on that, right? So that's the downside with that one. A pooled special needs trust, the way that works is, There's certain companies that are approved by the state of Florida to do these trusts. There's a handful of them. There's not, you can't just go to a bank and get a pooled special needs trust. It has to be a Medicaid approved company. You put it into an account with a trust company. You can spend every last dime of it. It still belongs to your parent. They can spend every last dime, and if they do, no harm, no foul, no problem. If they don't, if they die and there's $50,000 left in that account, the way it works is Medicaid gets reimbursed for whatever they've paid them in benefits while they were alive. So the upside to that is, well, at least they're covered while they're alive. They can get Medicaid now until, and you know that they're going to be covered until the day they pass away. The downside is there's probably not going to be money coming back to the family. It's going to go to the state after the person dies.
We actually did that recently. We had a probate, and we got the recovery amount from Medicaid, and we were shocked how little it was. And the attorney said, yeah, they just don't ask for all of it, but we even said, you know, it's got to be more than that. And it was such an odd process, but we ended up having money left over for the family, which was
So
odd. I
Medicaid
didn't
didn't
expect
collect
it.
100% of what they paid out? Really?
Nowhere near it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Now
like,
don't bank on that.
Yeah. That's like
Sometimes it depends who answers the phone or who processes the claim.
Yeah.
I wasn't there first in the process.
You know, that's the disorganized government.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. Very
Are
true.
you allowed to gift out of that trust? Or
No.
are they?
No.
It's
Has
only
to
a
be
case
used for their
sensitive.
For the
benefit.
benefit.
Yeah, has to be used for the senior.
You can't give your
So
grandchild
No.
$10,000.
In that scenario, I guess you have to weigh, because I'm guessing there's probably a fee to use that service.
It's not that
versus-
much, but yes, there's different trust companies charge different fees. One that I'm familiar with, they charge a one-time $500 setup fee,
Oh,
and then they charge 1.95%.
But if you weigh that
That's paid
versus how
quarterly.
much you have to pay in
Right,
taxes on
right.
$100,000, it might not be.
Right.
You might as well just take the money and pay your taxes.
And again, this is where you want the crystal ball, right? You don't know, is my tax burden on the personal services contract going to be more than what I pay the trust company and what Medicaid wants at the end of life?
But
Who
you're not
knows?
gonna do a personal services contract if you have your elder in a senior facility, would you?
Why not?
Well, aren't they taking care of all the personal services for you?
No, they're not making
Still
doctor's
do.
appointments and driving you to doctor's
And
offices.
advocating for you.
Pills.
You
and-
They're not
Definitely.
paying bills, but
And
they
they're
are
not
driving, in
paying
our
for
case,
it.
they are driving her to doctor's appointments
You can
and
still
taking
use
care
it.
of all that.
You can still
Yeah.
use it. Definitely can still
I'm
use it.
talking real world
Plus you have to
experience.
Pooled
monitor.
special needs trust.
So maybe too early, but what is the current administration going after in terms of thinking about making the changes?
Yeah,
And why are they talking about so much fraud?
yeah. Well, you know, think of the government like a business, okay? There's always cost savings and efficiencies that you can achieve. You know, and I kind of have this argument all the time. So everyone's in favor of cost savings and efficiency. Nobody's against, we have to do something about the deficit. No, you know, we can't sustain this deficit. Yes, we should be more efficient. Do you have to be so mean about it and mean-spirited, you know, and insulting and, you know,
It's the approach.
no, it's the delivery is a little, rough. But we don't know what's gonna happen. The things that they're talking about now are for the budget next year. They won't impact anyone that's on Medicaid right now. 2026, we'll see what ends up getting passed as part of the budget. If there's cuts, might be less money available in the Medicaid fund to support these types of programs.
So, I just wanna go back to this durable power of attorney.
Mm-hmm.
So, my dad has lived with my mom has Alzheimer's. Well, when do you need a guardianship? Do you ever need a guardianship, or it's just depending on?
So I'll tell you sometimes you do. A durable power of attorney gets you 99.9% of the way there. They've given you written permission to do these things for them. Hopefully it's good enough.
Right.
Hopefully it's got all the things that you want to do in it. If it does, if it's the best power of attorney document on earth, you can do everything you need with it. However, if someone has dementia, the difference between a durable power of attorney and a guardianship is it does not take away the parent's rights. And the parent has dementia. So the parent can be walking behind you and undoing everything you're doing, right? You're their power of attorney, you're trying to take care of them and pay their bills, and they could go to the bank and take out all the money and send it to some boyfriend in, Venezuela. They can still do that because they still have rights. A guardianship takes away their ability to do that, takes away their rights. So if they're not cooperating, if they're still doing things that are harmful, you're gonna still need the guardianship.
Okay, gotcha. But that's not like the case, and the dual power of attorney in theory is what it should be.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna ask you,
Yeah.
you take a look at, and everything should be
Yes.
covered for every.
Correct. That's really the best you can do, is to get a durable power of attorney and hope that your parent cooperates and doesn't, do things that are harmful to themselves.
Everyone in here should have a durable power of attorney, I agree. It's one of the most important documents that everybody should have.
Because there's no law, in the healthcare realm, there is a law, like next of kin can make medical decisions for you if there's an emergency. There's no such law for banking and selling your house and finances. Even your spouse can't do it for you. They cannot sign your name under any law.
And we all know we all sign our husband's name. We're not allowed to.
Yeah.
So I have a sister who's mentally ill. She's going to be 62 years old. She does not cooperate, and in her mind, God is going to take care of her. In my mind, I'm going to die, and I need to set things up for her. Are there things that I can do to
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
she worked for most of her life. The last 9 years, she stopped taking her medication, and she went downhill. So she is going to be, I believe she's eligible for Social Security. She worked from the time she was a teenager till the time that she was 50.
You have to work for 10 years, basically. For Social Security.
Okay. So she worked until she was 53 years old. But she won't cooperate with me to get her help. Can I do that without her cooperation?
You could become her guardian. You could go to court. The way that works is you go to court and you file a petition saying my loved one lacks capacity and needs a legal guardian and can't manage her own affairs. And they would assess that situation and decide if that's true or not. And if it is, they would appoint you as her legal guardian, and you'd be able to do whatever you need to do for her. Or you can catch her on a good day when she'll sign a durable power of attorney for you.
Decide here, you get to go on this.
Don't defraud your family. Do not defraud your family.
It's not defrauding if you take her on a cruise.
Do you just focus on elderly law, or, because like my niece, she has autism, and so when she turned 18, my sister-in-law did the guardianship,
Yeah.
she's the legal guardian and all that stuff. Is your firm focus on all of this, or just for elderly?
No, we do special needs as well. We deal with a lot of special needs families, kids with autism or Down syndrome who they need, once they turn 18, they're still an adult in the eyes of the law. And they need a legal guardian named. And maybe they can sign a power of attorney if they can understand the concept, but if they can't, you need to be named guardian. There's a special court proceeding for that for kids with developmental disabilities. It's called a guardian advocacy. But yes, and special needs trust, there's for people who are not, needing long-term care, you can still do a special needs trust. That's a whole nother topic for another presentation, but there's two different types of there's actually 3 types of special needs trust. A pooled special needs trust is the one we've been talking about for age 65 and over that works for Medicaid. Then there's something called there's either a first party or a third party special needs trust. Third party's the best. It's when I want to leave money for my loved one. It's my money, and I want to put it aside for my grandchild who has special needs. So I'm going to set up a special needs trust as part of my estate plan so that I can leave them an inheritance, and they can still get all the government benefits that they're entitled to. And there's no Medicaid payback, and there's no creditor issue, and there's nothing. It's my money, and this is what I'm doing for them. Awesome.
What's that called?
Special needs trust. Third party special needs trust. A first party's okay because it's when it's done after the fact. Grandparents don't think ahead. They have a special needs grandchild, but they don't set up a special needs trust for them, and they leave them in inheritance. And now their grandchild's in a big pot of problems because they get SSI and they get Medicaid and they have government benefits that are based on financial need, and now they have a big inheritance. So they're gonna lose their government benefits. We can restructure it after the fact with a first party special needs trust. Now it's their money. They're putting it in a first party special needs trust. Medicaid's gonna get paid back after they pass away, you know, and so it's definitely not as good. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so you wanna, avoid them inheriting anything directly. That happens with, sometimes with a lawsuit settlement, right? The special needs person has a personal injury claim. They have government benefits, but now they're getting a big chunk of money from a settlement. They'll put it in a first party special needs trust to keep their benefits, but there's, pros and cons to doing that. Thank you all so much for your time. I hope you've learned something.